Welcome to the Success Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Christian Evans. This podcast is about helping you improve your relationship with diet and exercise to achieve success in your fitness journey. In today's podcast episode, we have two special guests, husband and wife, Michael and Kimberly Nicole Wright from Laurel, Maryland, by way of Alabama. Mr. and Mrs. Wright have lost a combined weight of over 460 pounds. This husband and wife team also hosts their own podcast called Something in Common, where they discuss topics ranging from Black love and health and fitness, family, and entertainment. Without further ado, Success Fitness family, please welcome Mr. and Mrs. Wright to the Success Fitness Podcast. Hey, how you doing today?
All right. How are you?
I'm good. Trying to stay warm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So give my listeners and viewers a little bit of background on you two, where you're from, and what is it that you do currently.
You want to go first?
Sure. So we are the hosts of Something in Common podcast. We actually got together back in 2013, online dating, met on Facebook, had a long distance relationship for a little while. And then he moved here from Arkansas. I was here in Maryland, and we got married in 2014. At that time, both of us were severely overweight. We are a blended family. So he has two daughters. I have two daughters. We now have four daughters, six of us. And started the podcast just to talk about our life, pillow talk, parenting, relationships, blended families, things that were going on in the news, entertainment, and got to a point where we decided to make some changes, and here we are. So that's the beginning of our story.
Okay.
We're like in the middle of it now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's who we are.
Okay. So what inspired you to lose weight? Now you can answer as individuals or couples or both, however you want to.
I'll let her start because her story
triggers
mine.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll let her start and then I'll kind of go into mine.
So so I have always been overweight from teenage years to adult. Was married before, had a difficult divorce, gained a lot more weight. I was up to 468 pounds. And in 2017, my dad got sick and ended up in the hospital. And my dad was also overweight and had a rare condition. And unfortunately, they weren't able to do the testing that they would do on a normal size person. He couldn't get an MRI. He couldn't get any of those types of testing to see what was going on with him. So basically they were kind of flying blind with him and his care. He ended up having to have brain surgery, emergency brain surgery. And when he came out of his surgery, still under anesthesia, I was there. He was wheeled into his room, and I'll never forget, he looked at me and said, "Don't be like me." And I didn't know what he meant. My dad was my hero, greatest man I ever known. And he never talked about my weight. I was just always the prettiest girl ever to him. And so he said, "Don't die fat." And that's all he said. And in that moment, I knew that I needed to make a change. We never discussed what he said. We never discussed what he meant. I just knew. Prior to him having the surgery, the doctors kept telling us, we can't do this. We don't know that. His size. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, we're in 2017. Why can't you save my daddy is what I kept thinking. And when he said that to me, I came home that night and I told Michael, I'm having weight loss surgery. And he kind of, he said, whatever you want to do, I'll support you. He said, I know you'll do great. For him, he felt like he could do it on his own. So he was just like, I'll be there for you. The next day, I called our local hospital that I knew did the surgery, did a consult with them, wasn't real happy with their services, went with another one. And within 4 months, I had gastric sleeve surgery. And I think that was the spark for him because he ended up getting sick and not feeling well. And I'll let him share what happened with him.
Yeah. So when she initially wanted to have the surgery, not to me at the time, I still thought I can do this by myself.
Right.
At that time, I was sitting at 463 pounds myself.
I got you.
And honestly, I've been a big guy all my life. And at that time, I was in complete denial about how big I actually was. And it wasn't until right around that time she was getting ready for surgery, I got really sick. I was just getting winded. Everything I did, I was winded. So I was thinking, kind of felt like I had a chest cold or upper respiratory infection or something. Ended up going across the street to the patient first, and blood pressure was 220 over 200. Like the lady at the time that was there, she was my doctor. She looked at me and she said, "You're a walking stroke." So they ended up rushing me to the emergency room. Had to sit there. Was there overnight?
Yeah.
For the most part, was there overnight, and just blood pressure would not come down.
Yeah.
So at that time, that's when I kind of had a moment. It was like, okay, I got to do something drastic at this moment, because if not, I'm not going to live.
Right.
And, for a doctor to look me in my eye, and, people can say what they want, but Black women have a way of saying stuff to you, and it just clicks.
Right.
And she looked at me because she had been seeing me for a while, and she said, "Michael, this blood pressure is through the roof." She said, you're going to die if you don't get this under control. And from there, I was like, okay, I got to do something just to get this ball rolling. And then right after that, I signed up to get the surgery, went through a nutrition class, and Wrights. So you had yours in February?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had mine in April of 2019.
Yeah. So it definitely, and him getting sick was also another, like, we have to do something. And I told him, I said, you don't have to do what I do. I don't care what you do, but you have to do something, because I can't have you in the hospital too. Like, I can't deal with that.
Right.
So definitely we were super blessed in that there's a lot of times with the bariatric surgery, you have to do a lot. A lot of insurance companies make you go through 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of nutrition and psychological exams and we went through that, but we were able to get it done very quickly.
Right.
And have the surgery. And I think the other part of the journey that solidified it for me that I needed to do it was when I went to the doctor and they couldn't weigh me on a regular scale.
I gotcha.
So I had to go and be on the industrial scale because their scale only went to 400 pounds.
I gotcha. I got quiet there listening to both of your stories, but Michael's resonated with me so much. It was to a point to where everything that you said in yours, that something similar like that happened to me in regards to being hospitalized with, like you said, like a walking stroke, right? And this was maybe, I was 24, 25, somewhere around there. And I hadn't reached 400 pounds yet, but I was knocking on this door, you know what I mean? And I remember it's 4th of July, I had my niece with me, we were out watching fireworks or something. I just had this massive headache. And long story short, went to the prompt care. Prompt care said, you know what, your blood pressure's too high. Go to the main hospital. I'm thinking I'm gonna be home later on that night because my head was just throbbing. Like the light was just so sensitive. My eyes were so sensitive to the light, and come to find out, I had high blood pressure. They said, you're borderline stroke, and I couldn't go home for a week. So by you sharing that with me, that's why I legit just got quiet there. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was almost like verbatim, exactly. You know what I'm saying? What happened, and that is scary. That is scary when something like that happens, because you're figuring like, oh, I'll be all right. You know what I mean? Whatever. And it's something a little bit more serious than.
And the crazy part, before that, I hadn't had any symptoms. I didn't even know I had high blood pressure. It was just like I had been going all of these years because I'm 44, so I was 40. Yeah, I was 40 years old when that happened. I'm thinking, oh, I'm good. But again, it took for that to happen, and then for them to weigh me, and then I'm like, oh crap, you're 460 pounds. Then I'm kind of replaying my life back, like, when the hell did I get 400 pounds?
Yeah, like, right.
But now, it's easy to see when I look back at old pictures now. I'm just like, oh God, my face looked like it was about to explode. And for me, even the weight loss now, it took some getting adjusted to, because I was always that big guy. And for me, that always made me different. I felt like it made me special. Right. Because I was one of those big guys where I didn't have low self-esteem. I didn't have a problem.
Right.
None of that stuff. It never weighed on me like that to where like, oh, I'm different. Like, no, you're always Big Mike. That's what it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? At my fattest, I got this sexy woman.
Right. Right.
It was never something that I had an issue with until I lost the weight. And then I look back on it and it's like, whoa, like mind blown.
I think that's the same for me. Like, I didn't have any issues with body image. I mean, I knew I was larger, but I used to be a plus size model. So I didn't have any, issues with that. I think, and I didn't have any health issues. So I didn't have high blood pressure. I wasn't pre-diabetic or diabetic, but I did have pain. A lot of knee pain, a lot of back pain, and to the point where we would go to shopping and I would be upset with him because he wouldn't circle the parking lot to find a space up front, because I was like, I can't walk, like I'm hurting today. And I think that was the only sign that I had that, okay, this is getting out of control, because I wasn't someone who had high blood pressure. It was always normal. So I thought, okay, those things are fine. I must be fine. And I definitely was not.
We've had many fights about that. We went to, for me, she always tells me I wear rose-colored glasses when I look at her, because I never saw her weight or anything like that. I was just like, this girl is fine. I got to have her. It's whatever. But it wasn't until some years back, we took the kids to Disney World, and she couldn't walk around Disney World. And she had to get a scooter. And she was like so mad at me that day, because it was blazing hot in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, hot.
Right.
And she was just angry. I don't necessarily, not looking back on it, she wasn't necessarily angry with me.
At myself.
She was more angry at herself.
Right.
And that's when it kind of hit me like, oh, wow, like she's in pain. Like this is really too much for her. And I think that's when I kind of really opened my eyes to what it was she was dealing with, and, trying to understand it better and be a little more open-minded to maybe we can get her some help, or maybe we could do something. Because, I mean, she was miserable.
Right.
And really didn't know she was miserable.
Right. Yeah, because when you're overweight and then, you lose weight, and then you flash back to certain things you were doing when you were heavy. And one thing you both hit on was kind of like the attitude, and sometimes you just think it's just you, it's my, it's just my personality or whatever. And it's like, no, it's like that weight was causing like some joint pains or, whatever the case may be, but your mind is just clouded on things should be a certain way to fit me, and true enough, we just don't live in that world. But at the same time, like, even if we did, it would still be more problematic, because it would encourage that type of, behavior to get us to, over 400 pounds in the hospital, you know what I mean? And it's like, the little things like trying to circle the parking lot to try to find a closer parking spot. And you're like, you get frustrated, and then, you take it out on whoever the next person is, what I mean? It's like, I get it. You flash back and you're like, okay, I was doing that. And it's like, oh, that's why, you know what I mean?
I was definitely miserable. I was a walking attitude.
Yeah, like for real. Yeah. It's like when you lose weight, you get this kind of this woosah type of thing. And is it that, or is it like now your body is not so angry at you and sending the signals to your mind, and then you spew it out to somebody else, So what was the biggest obstacle in your way when you got started, as far as like with your weight loss journey, or just during, like, what was one of the biggest obstacles you all faced?
For me, I think it was getting used to the changes. So bariatric surgery comes with a lot of changes, and I hear it all the time. I hear it from people, oh, that was easy, you took the easy way out. And it is so not that. When I first had surgery, I mean, the first 8 weeks were miserable. I mean, you're getting used to, a much smaller stomach. You're trying to figure out what you can eat. Some weeks I was sick. I was throwing up because I didn't know, it's trial and error of what you can tolerate, what you can't tolerate, how much you can have and how much you can't. And the first few weeks were just awful. But, knowing that there was a light at the end, like, I'm gonna get past this. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure out what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I'm gonna get there. But the first few weeks after surgery were the toughest for me, as far as just figuring it all out, because it's such a mental. I feel like weight loss in general is so mental. It's much more mental than it is the physical part, and trying to figure out, I can't do this anymore, and coming to terms with that. And it kind of felt like, part of me was gone, or I was losing what I knew. Right. I told him I one day I was like, we're not sitting here thinking about, we used to get up and think about what we're going to have for breakfast, where we going to go, what we're going to have for lunch, and where we're going to go for dinner. Like, we talked about it. We would go places. And I said, we have so much time on our hands. Like, our life is changed. It's so different. And I went through a period of physically being sick right after, and mentally trying to figure out what happens now and who am I at this point, because
it's a whole different life. Like you said, you got so much time on your hand now.
Yeah, I was like,
other than waking up and saying, okay, what pancake house we hitting today?
Yeah, and I said, what can I do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that was a real hard lesson to think about, who is Kim? Like, okay, now what? Right. What do I do now? I think that was the hardest part early on for me.
Now, for me, it was the complete opposite. I didn't have any of the sickness, any of that.
Right.
Like, I was perfectly fine. The only thing I had to get adjusted to was, what it made me realize is just how we as people overeat. Them taking 85% of my stomach, and you just get a couple of bites in, and you're just like, I didn't need a whole plate of food. I didn't need this steak, this potato, like all it. It just made me think back. I'm like, oh my God, I was just eating a massive amount of food. And it was just really, it put in perspective to me, like, we as humans just overeat, just overeat. And so the only thing that took adjusting for me, and I touched on it early on, was losing the weight, because my weight loss was really fast. And they tell you that when you go in to have bariatric surgery. They're like, normally for men, the weight just falls off. And it did for me. It was just like rapid, just like boom, 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 boom. Like, I was literally dropping pant sizes every week and a half, pretty much. Like, I was constantly buying pants. I started off, I was in a 56 pants.
Okay. And
now I'm in a 30, 32, but it was like constantly like drop, which was upsetting her, because she was like, hey, you're losing weight too fast.
That's always going to be the battle. It's always going to be the battle. Man, he always loses weight so fast, no matter what it is. Hey,
yeah. But for me, it kind of the same thing for her. It was just like, after I started losing the weight, it was just like, I didn't realize how much that weight had just made my life kind of stagnant. And then and even now I'm still dealing with this, like, who am I? What do I want to do? I never took that time to figure out who I was. My mother raised me, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to throw my mother under the bus here. But her thing with us was, you go to school, graduate college, you get a job. That's it. And that's all I ever knew. I never took that time in life to, what do I like to do? And now I'm starting to figure that out, and the weight loss really opened up my mind to
start thinking more clearer.
Because either like traveling was tough. Yeah. There were times when I had to fly and I had to get 2 seats.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff like that, or having to get on a plane and whisper to the stewardess, can I get a seatbelt extension? Like stuff like that. So traveling was not really in the cards. I mean, we did it, but it was not comfortable.
Yeah.
So now we just hop on a plane and go do whatever we want to do. So it's really given me that opportunity in my life. And, it was supposed to happen this way, but now I'm like, I'm about to be 45 in a couple of months. It's like, geez, I waited till like in my mid 40s to really start living life. And that was the adjustment that I had to make, just actually being comfortable in my skin, and not thinking that I was comfortable before when I was almost 500 pounds, but knowing that I'm comfortable in my skin. And it's just opened so many doors, at least for me, to the point where, it's brought a different level of happiness to my life.
Right. It's kind of crazy now that I've started thinking about it. It's like, as you kind of like decrease, like your opportunities expand. You know what I mean? Like, you spend so much time, being I guess what this is the word, expanded. Now that you kind of do the opposite, with your physical, now your opportunities start to expand now. That's kind of a good flip. You know what I mean?
Like I said, it opened up and again, it really made me realize, like I said, and before when I was large, I was in complete denial about who I was. And for a while, I felt like I kind of lost my identity, because I lost the weight. And so every time, because I'm originally from California, so every time I go to California, it's just like, even my mother would be like, oh my God, because everybody's only know me big, even my kids. Like, I was in the car with my daughter the other day, and she was just like, sometimes she'll just stare at me. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're this small. Like it took for them to get adjusted to me being smaller now too. And my mother's just like, I remember we went there maybe a year or so ago, and she was just like, can you make it stop? Like, cause it was just like the weight was just smaller. I'm smaller now at almost 45 than I was in my freshman year of high school.
Wow.
You know, I played football, so I was always a big kid. I was probably my freshman year, I was 250, between 250 and 260. You know, now I'm sitting here at 208 pounds. It's just like everybody around me is just like, whoa. And so I honestly, for a while, I felt like I lost my identity there. And I'm finally getting that back to where the weight didn't define who I was. You know, it was just me as a person. So getting that side of me back has been an interesting process as well.
I think it's important to say how important it is to have support. It's really hard if you don't. Our family support our journey. You know, my mom was the same way. She supports me and she's so proud. However, if I go to her house and I eat a scoop of something, she's like, oh my God, I have to feed you. You're starving yourself. What are you doing? And I'm like, Mom, that's all I should have. That's the portion I need to have.
Yeah.
I don't need to have 2 and 3 helpings. And she's just like, but I need to feed you. And I'm like, no. And I get it. She loves me and she's proud of me. But that's all, you know, growing up, it was eat everything on your plate. And I, again, not like, you know, I'm not trying to throw my mom under the bus, but that's what grow up to be big and strong, eat your food.
Right. As I've gotten older and processing that is they were just doing all they knew at the time. You know, you start flashing back on how old your parents were when you were growing up to like these lessons that you remember now that they were teaching you. And 9 times out of 10, they were probably around your age right now. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, somebody who's, you know, in their 40s is like, okay, you're only doing what you know, so it can kind of like, you know, ease back a little bit off the, whether it's pressure or, you know, resentment or anger, they're just doing what they knew. We just know a little bit more now. You know what I mean?
I never had any resentment to my mother. We talked about it maybe a year or so ago when I went home. And, you know, I think a lot of times we as kids have to just listen to our parents' story, find out where they came from, what they had to deal with growing up. And so my mother was one of those people, everything she cooked, like we rarely ever ate out. She cooked everything from scratch. And my mother's a tremendous cook. So it was cakes, fried chicken, it was all of that stuff. But, you know, she learned how to cook from my grandmother. That's what they did. They cooked. Everything got cooked from scratch. The gravy had flour and oil. It was just like, you know, everything was homemade. And as she even said, she said, you know, I watched you as you got older and I watched you get bigger and bigger. She said, but as a parent, you're kind of like in this mindset where, oh, he's just a big kid. Or she used to say that old adage people say, he was big boned. You know, your bones ain't big. You're just fat. You're just big. That's all it is. So she said, like, she go, it, you know, she was kind of taking responsibility for that. And I was like, look, it's not your fault. You were just doing what you knew.
Right.
And what you knew was you gotta cook, you gotta feed your kids, and they gotta eat. But she said, you know, I watched you get bigger and bigger as you got older. And she said, maybe looking back on it, I should have cut back some. I said, well, mother, this is my journey. So I don't blame you for that. I had to go through this. And now I'm in a position now where, you know, I'm able to help other people, like, especially people who are considering having bariatric surgery. Like, I don't push that on anybody. Like when people reach out to me, especially men, because it's, you know, they're like, oh man, I'm having this issue. I don't push it on people at all. Like if you can do it naturally, great. And like she said, like we get so many people like, oh, you took the easy way out. You call it what you want. But at the end of the day, we're the ones still getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, headed to the gym, working out every day. Like the weight loss surgery is just a tool. That's all it is. 65% of the people who have weight loss surgery fail at it. After the first year, they put the weight, they put on not only the weight they lost, but end up putting more weight on after the first year and a half. You will be amazed how many men that I deal with that are going back for revisions now to get the surgery again. And they just had it a year and a half, 2 years ago. And they're bigger than they were before. So people can say what they want about this is the easy way out. You still got to do the work. We still have to watch what we eat. What we can't eat large portions of food, but you can still graze and eat a bunch of crap. And you can put the weight right back on. I see it every day when people reach out to me about that.
Right. Just like you said earlier, you come to this realization of how much food you were eating. And like, we don't need that much, you know what I mean? And it puts you more in the mindset of, I guess a normal or a decent sized portion when it comes to as far as like your food intake. Now, you mentioned earlier, Kim, about, support systems.
Yeah.
How was the support between you and Michael, you and Kim? How did that help you? How did you help each other, and how did you receive that help? How did that help you out on your weight loss journey?
It helped. I think it helped because we knew what each other was going through, because, you have the surgery and then it's not done. You have those first few weeks where you're following your doctor's orders. You're on different stages of food that you can have, liquid, soft, till you work yourself back up to regular solid food. So, all of that is a mind shift in itself. And then you're starting to work out again, trying to get your body moving. And it was not easy. I mean, I started working out 2 weeks after my bariatric surgery. 2 weeks, I had lost 35 pounds. But I was still in the 400s and my body still hurt. So, starting to work out, having him, going through it. And I think what was good for us is that we did it a couple months apart. We didn't do it right at the same time. So I went first in February, and he was able to see what I was going through, and he was able to, help me and take care of me. So then when he went in April, I was in a better space, and I was able to help him when he came out. And I think having that support and somebody to go through it with you is very, very important, especially for the mental part, because, I would wake up and just be crying, like, what have I done? Was this the right thing to do? Because it was just, it was hard sometimes. And we were blessed that we had a very good support system in the practice that we went to. I tell people all the time, do your research and find out, everything you can about the surgeon, about the practice. They offer support groups at our practice, online, on Facebook, in person, all of that. So that's helpful for folks, especially who don't have, someone that's going through it with them. But I think it really helped me that he knew exactly what I was going through. One thing I feared when I decided to have it and he wasn't going to do it was I was going to go through this journey, and we've seen it so many times that it can tear a relationship apart, where you have one person who is getting healthy and changing their life and looking different and all this. And the other person either isn't or doesn't want to, or is not moving as fast as you are. And it can, hurt a relationship. So I was happy that we were able to go through it together, and he supported it.
Yeah, for me, and to kind of touch on what she just said, those support groups, they can be very helpful, but you also see the crazy side of it. And like she said, it's so many men and women in these support groups that are getting divorced now. They've had the weight loss surgery, their spouse didn't have it. Now their spouse is just like, oh my God, I don't like you small, or whatever the case is, or you're working out too much. And every day I go to that group just to kind of peek my head in there. And it's at least one or two posts of somebody saying, my wife is leaving me, my husband is leaving me because of the surgery. So when I started seeing, I was like, okay, that's definitely not going to be us. But how she's helped me, my wife, if anybody knows, she's a super overachiever. Everything that she does, she's an overachiever. Me, I am not.
So if you do 10 push-ups, she got to do 11.
She's got to do 100. Like, it's that type. So the working out took some of getting adjusted to in the beginning, but she was like, every morning, 4:30, she's up. Let's go to the gym. And I'm like, look, woman, I'm trying to sleep. Like,
it's like, relax, man. Just relax. Yeah. It'll be all right.
So she's that type. So it's constantly that constant motivation when I don't want to get up in the morning, because I've never been a morning person. Never. So I know when I roll over at 4:00, halftime she's up anyway. So I know she's gonna let's go to the gym. But it kept me consistent. And that I needed that help with her on that aspect of it, just to know to get it up. And honestly, working out in the morning is the best thing, because you got the rest of your day ahead of you. You get up, you get it knocked out.
Yeah, set the tone.
So and again, like, you're right, set the tone. And so that's where she's helped me on this journey, is just keeping me motivated, not just laying in the bed because I can get up, I can work out in the afternoon, I can work out in the evening, but I noticed getting it up in the morning and starting my day like that has been the best thing for me. So that's honestly where she's helped me at.
And I think it's important it was important for me to set goals. and what I wanted to achieve on this journey. Like if I wasn't working towards something, it just wasn't
right.
There was no point for me. And so early on, I decided I'm gonna do a 5K. So 3 months after surgery, I did my first 5K. The experience was good to be out there. It was the Baltimore Women's Classic. Thank you. So it was an all women's race in Baltimore, which was great to be out there with all the women, but it was horrible. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life because, I tried to prepare for it, but I was still in the 300s at that time. It's hard to run, at that size for some people. And for me, it was terrible. I finished though. I mean, my mile was like 20 minutes. Took me 20 minutes to run a mile. But I said, okay, I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep making some goals to reach. For me, I have to train for something so that I can keep up my fitness. And if I'm not training for something, then it's very hard for me to stick to a fitness routine. So I think it's super important, however people decide to lose weight, it's to have goals, however big or small, and then to celebrate the big and the small wins. It's super important.
I got you. So compared to how you started, how did you feel once you hit your weight loss goal?
So I feel like I still have more to go.
Okay.
But I'm very close at this point. It's now like I want to tone. I want to be more consistent, like figure out what I want to do specifically with my body more than just losing weight. And I feel like from the day of surgery to now, I feel like a different person. I have not felt this good since I was like 12. Like getting up and going out and wanting to do stuff. Like I think back and I feel like I'll be 45 in May. And I feel like I have wasted a lot of my life because I was so sedentary. Like I didn't do anything. I just sat around and
like this is life. This is
yeah.
And
I think that, and we're doing great by our children. Like we've always supported our girls in being healthy and active. They always have done after school activities and all of that. But I do feel some regret because I was so overweight when they were younger that I wasn't able to do any of that with them. Okay. So I think I'm making up for lost time. And I feel just, I can't even, you can describe in words how much better you feel after you've lost so much weight. I mean, over 200 pounds is, it's a person and a half, for some people. Definitely. So, being able to just get up and walk around, I feel so blessed because I could barely walk before.
Right.
Well, kind of same for me, I was never like a goal setter. I just did things. I knew what I needed to do and I did it. So it was never like, okay, I'm going to set this goal. I'm going to do this. It was never that. So now I've surpassed my weight goal by a mile because I was like, if I get down to 230, I'm good. So like I said, now I sit here at 208 pounds. So now my goal is just to transform my body. So I've been heavy into the weightlifting now. I've been blessed over the last couple of years to build a relationship with CT Fletcher where like, how he found me on social media, I have no idea. We don't have a super large following, but he started following us on Instagram. And, over the past year or so, we've been able to go out to California, work out with him, and just to be able to go to his house and sit under his learning tree. So he's been really helping me with this whole weightlifting thing and just really trying to transform my body. So that relationship has been a treasure trove for me to be able to call him whenever I need help with something. Hey, how do I, I'm thinking about doing this or trying this. So he's been super great in that aspect. And he has a training app out that I've been using for like the past year.
Okay.
It has really helped me just work on transforming my body.
Right.
And getting the look that I want. Like the goal is I'm not trying to look like a bodybuilder and all of that stuff, but I definitely want to tighten up, which I've been able to do over the past 6 months or so. So it's been great, but building those kind of relationships has been super important for me on this journey as well.
And I think
super dope.
I've taken the 5K, that 5K and continued on and ended up getting into a triathlon, which has been amazing. I've met so many amazing people on this journey and decided to do my first Ironman this year. So training for Ironman, Ohio, in honor of my dad. My dad was from Ohio, and you know, that's now my goal. So now I get up, I do 2-a-day workouts every day almost, to get ready for this. So that's the bigger goal for me, which has been very helpful in keeping me on the journey, because we're almost 3 years out. And at this point, you know, you can start to eat regular. We still eat smaller portions. We really are a portion control. We can look at a package and eat the portion size on a package and that be enough. But if I eat every 2-3 hours something that I shouldn't be, I could gain the weight back. So we have to be very careful at this point that we aren't overeating, and that we continue. Working out is very important now.
Yeah.
For maintaining.
And that's what people don't understand about the weight loss surgery. Like, you can stretch your stomach right back out. And that's what happens to so many people. And the thing for me that was hard to understand in the beginning was when people said, oh, I had the surgery last year, and they put, in the course of that year, they put on 100 pounds again. Like, what people don't understand about weight loss surgery, if you overeat, it's not like you don't get that, you know, you just eat a big meal like, oh, I'm full. You don't get that anymore. You're in pain. Like, it is painful if you eat too much. And I'm just like, how do you eat like that? But when I talk to people about it, they were just like, and this goes back to it being more of a mental thing. Their thing is, yeah, my stomach is telling me that I'm full, but my brain is telling me that I'm still hungry. So they just overeat and they somehow block out the pain. And they just, again, it doesn't take long for you to stretch that stomach back out. And that's what happens. And then, like I said, we have to really check ourselves at time, because you may not be able to eat a lot in one portion, but you can graze over the course of a day. And we have to make sure that we're not eating crap.
Right.
And again, I tell people all the time, there have been times where we fell off that wagon, you know, like, hell, that cookie looks really good.
Right.
And I'm gonna eat that cookie, but then, you know, it's just like, okay, then you have to just check yourself, and you can't let those days where you slip up, you know, basically take you off your grind. So it's just, okay, I messed up yesterday. I got to get back on that grind tomorrow, and I got to go twice as hard, because I know I slipped up. So you got to own that mistake and just work back to it.
I got you. Yeah, like you said, it's who would want to go through that pain of, you know, if and when you do overeat, and you just block it out of your mind, and you just like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna just keep eating. And it's just attributed to exactly what you said, how it's just more mental than anything.
They make you go through a psychological test before they do. They want to make sure, and I don't, clearly, just from the amount of people that I dealt with that I'm dealing with that's going through this, I don't know how
truthful they
if they're being super truthful when they tell these stories, or, you know, because they want to know about your support system. How strong is your support system? You know, why do you overeat? I mean, they ask you a million questions. So if you're not telling the truth, you're not going to be successful. You really have to get the mental part of it squared away, because if you don't, you're going to fail. And that's normally what happens to a lot of people. They're not, you know, do you eat when you're bored? Honestly, I was one of those people. If I'm just watching a TV show or a movie, like, I got to have something. I'm just sitting here watching a movie. Not necessarily that I'm hungry. It's just,
that's
I
got to
eat something.
Right.
Or if I'm sitting around the house bored and got nothing to do, okay, you have some popcorn and some this or that. I was just eating because I was bored. And so that's what a lot of people have to check, that side of it mentally. Why are you overeating, and why are you doing this? And a lot of people aren't truthfully honest about that, and that's why they fail at it. And a lot of men that I deal with now, because I mainly, you know, get a lot of men that'll reach out to me, and it was just like, holy crap, man, what did you do? So I tell them what I did. And they're like, oh, well, I had weight loss surgery too, but I put the weight right back on.
Oh, wow.
Like, well, why did you put the weight back on? And 95% of the time, their stories are all the same. So now it's just trying to, you know, again, like I said, weight loss, because we get so much hate about the surgery. And it's just like, like I said, I don't push it on anybody. I just need people to know it's an option if you choose to do it. But if you do it, these are the steps that you need to follow to be successful with it. Because the last thing I'm gonna ever do is go back to being 468 pounds. That's not gonna happen.
Right.
So, you know, you got to get your mental straight before you even think about doing this, because if not, like I said, you're not going to be successful with it. I
got you. I did catch that CT Fletcher video. And I think I ended up watching the full one, because I seen like the clip. And I think he did end up turning into a full one. So what was the toughest part about that that workout circuit from what you both did? Because he took you through the gauntlet, right? He took you
500
both through a
reps.
gauntlet. Yeah,
500 reps.
Goodness. Yeah.
He
And before he starts, can I just say that I did win that.
Okay.
See. Yeah, so I had worked out right before this. I went out there and worked out with his son Samson. So we did a personal workout. I worked out with him, and then after that, when they started, because CT had said he wasn't going to do any more training after he had his heart surgery. Said he was done, but his son said he kind of talked him back into doing some training. So they reached out. They were just like, "Hey, you guys want to come out and train?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" So we went out there and trained. So he wanted to interview us as well, about our weight loss journey and all that stuff. So we did an interview, and he was just like, "Okay," we didn't know what the workout was going to be. So there's a clip in that video when he says 500 reps. If you look at her face literally like hit the floor, because we didn't know what we were doing. And she just kind of looked over. It was like 500 reps. I was like, "Oh God." But yeah, he ran us through the gamut. And for me, that was a big deal for me, because when he said 500 reps, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look like a damn fool out here, because I knew I was just gonna pass out and fall out and all of that stuff. And people who don't know, and people who know CT Fletcher knows he is going to yell at you, he's going to cuss at you, he's going to do all of that. And honestly, that part kept me going, because I was not worried about beating her. This is just where it's her competitive. Like, I knew it wasn't okay. I just wanted to finish. That was my thing. Like, I cannot be on YouTube for all these millions of people to see me on YouTube fall out and die right here in the middle of this gym. So my goal was just to finish. And I finished. Of course, she won. She gloated about it for months after that, which was totally fine. But yeah, that was quite the experience. So
that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, he like I said, he for some reason just took a liking to us for some reason. So, and like I said, I talk to that man damn near every day now. For me, I've always been a fan of his from way back. I first saw his YouTube videos 10, 11 years ago. Right. So the fact that this journey has kind of opened the doors for me to meet these kind of people and be able to interact with them and get advice from them it's been amazing, man. Absolutely amazing.
It was an amazing experience.
I think he likes her more than me, though. So
he definitely reminds me of my dad. And I tell him that all the time. He reminds me of my dad. And I wanted to finish too. I just wanted to finish. And
she wanted to beat me.
I wanted to beat him. I did. I wanted to beat him.
Whatever it took to finish.
Whatever it took, I was going to do it. And I was down for 2 days after. My body was so sore and I was hurting so bad. It was like 2 days, right? That we could not, like, we were like, oh my gosh, what did we just do? But it was great. At least it showed me what I'm capable of.
And that's for beautiful. Me. I was coming off of so I had another medical issue. So we did that in what month was that? August. Yeah. So we did that in August, I believe. The May before that, I ended up having to get rushed to the hospital again. So what I found out was I had a tear in my aorta. So I didn't know that. So another time went to the patient first. I was just like, I just don't feel right. Was working out again. So we went to the gym that morning, came home that morning. She had to go to work. I was working from home. I was just feeling really good that day. I was like, man, I'm gonna do another workout. So when COVID hit, she allowed me to get all this gym equipment in the garage. Go out there, I'm working out, feeling good. About 45 minutes into the workout, I'm just like, oh, something doesn't feel right. Stood up and got really lightheaded. Went into the house, laid down for a minute. I called her. This was a Friday. I called her. I said, I don't, something doesn't feel right. I was thinking I had pulled a muscle. That's kind of what it felt like. I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm overdoing it because I'm old. So I was like, you're doing too much. Woke up Saturday morning, felt a little better, but still just had this pain in my midsection, because it started in my chest and then kind of worked its way down to my midsection. Felt okay. We went out, ran errands. Sunday woke up, and I knew, because of my job, I have to travel a lot. So I knew that Monday, I said, okay, I got to hit the road, because I was going to Connecticut for work that Monday. I said, let me just go get checked out, see what's going on. Get over to patient first. I'm sitting. She drops me off. There's a Target right over there. So she's like, I'm going to drop you off, go over to Target, and then I'll be back. By the time she comes back from Target, I'm waiting for them to call me to the back, and I'm literally like profusely sweating. I'm literally getting ready to pass out. So when she comes through the door, I'm literally sliding out of the chair in the lobby. Like, I didn't know what was going on. They rushed me to the back. like, I mean, my clothes are drenched. I'm freezing cold, but my clothes are just drenched. I'm just sweating profusely. So they rushed me to the emergency room. Get there. I'm telling the nurse what's going on. He was like, let's do a CAT scan. They do a CAT scan. And by this time, so an hour has passed. I'm feeling better. I'm like, okay, whatever that was is passed. The nurse comes running into the room and they're just like, we got a helicopter coming. We're flying you to University of Maryland. And I'm like, well, what in the hell is going on? She's like, you have a tear in your aorta and you going in for emergency heart surgery. And so now I'm freaking out. This is during COVID, so she's not in there. They're not letting anybody in hospital. They finally let her in. I get a helicopter. They fly me over to University of Maryland, come to find out. So there's two types of tear. There's an ascending tear that leads up to your heart and a descending tear. Neither one of them are good, but luckily I had a descending tear, which was leading away from the heart. So I spent over 2 weeks in the hospital trying to get this fixed. So luckily it hasn't gotten any worse. So I haven't had to have surgery, but I constantly got to be monitoring, and they told me at the time, and this goes back to just that journey, just getting on that journey when I did, the guy looked at me, he said, if you were still almost 500 pounds, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be sitting here right now. He said, you'd probably be dead. And so that for me really solidified, like I said, I used to let that, oh, you took the easy way out bother me. But had I not took those drastic steps to get this weight off me, I most likely wouldn't be sitting here interviewing. Right. And for a surgeon to look at me and say, you are so lucky you don't have all that weight on you. He said, that's what's keeping you alive right now. And so far, and this was last May, I get my CAT scans, everything is stable, I'm good. The only thing that really messed, because at first they told me I wasn't gonna be able to lift weights anymore. And that just was like, what the hell?
It crushed his spirit.
Yeah, like I was down for a while after that when they told me I wouldn't be able to lift anymore. But being that things have not gotten any worse and they're stable, they're like, okay, you can lift. So I just can't do any like super heavy lifting.
I gotcha.
So, and again, this is where CT kind of came in. I was telling him about it. He dealt with his heart issues and all that stuff. Right. So he was like, look, we'll put you on a plan. He was like, and he's like, if your goal is not to be super strong, you don't have to lift super heavy weights. He said, we'll get you on a lightweight program, and it's worked wonders for me. So I'm still able to do the thing that I love, which is lifting weights, just kind of have to scale it back a little bit. But like I said, having that aorta tear really just, it solidified to me that I made the right decision. And like I said, I'm not at this point going to let anybody tell me, oh, that's easy, you did this, you did that. No, I did what I had to do to make sure that I'm still here. And again, half these people talking to me ain't getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym either. Right. And working their ass off.
I do think it's important to say that weight loss is not the end all be all of health issues. Right. You can still have health issues and be small, but it helps you in dealing with those health issues. But it's, for some people, it's not the cure. It's not, he still has blood pressure issues and he's smaller. Sometimes it is in the genes. But being as healthy as you possibly can is what's going to keep you here.
Exactly. Well, I'll be praying for you both, and for a speedy and full recovery, because that's very serious, and if, again, if you didn't get that weight off, if you didn't take the measures that you did take to get it off, then Lord knows where you would be right now. Exactly. What advice would you give couples who want to lose weight as a couple?
For me is, if you have that ability to do it together, this process, we've had our ups and downs with it, but I know for us, it's been a lot easier with us doing it together. So having that somebody next to you that supports you, that's going to motivate you. And like I said, we've been getting up early in the morning, working out for long. I still don't like it. But again, having her do it, because I know if I had to probably do it on my own, I probably wouldn't get up that early and work out. And it might be days I miss if she's not putting her foot in my butt, telling me to get up and do it. So if they're able to do it together, I think that's a big help. And also, and like I say, understand that you're going to have those days where you slip up and mess up, but don't let that completely take you off your game. Own that mistake, get back to it. And that's one of the, and I say that because that's what I used to do. When I've tried every fad diet out there, juicing, this, that, all of that stuff. And if I just had a couple of days where I screwed up, I'd just be like, screw it, I ain't doing that no more. I was not consistent with it. And that's the biggest thing I tell people now. Consistency is a key. Like I said, you're going to have those bad days. You're going to have those days where you don't feel like getting up. And or you don't feel like doing this, you just got it's mind over matter. You just got to do it, and having somebody on your side that's going to push you and help you do that, and not going to be like, you're right, baby, we don't need to work out today.
Yeah.
That, and again, that's where she's helped me, and that's what I tell, especially other men that I talk to. I'm like, what does your wife think about this? And they're like, well, she's not really happy with me losing the weight. And I'm just like, I said, that's going to be tough, especially if your spouse's opinion means a lot to you.
Right.
You're going to let that dictate what you do every day. You can't allow that. So whether she's upset with it or not, you have, and I got a guy now that I'm dealing with 500 and what was he? I think he told me he was 530 pounds. His wife does not want him to lose the weight. And he's really considering not losing the weight, whether it's weight loss surgery, or just eating better and losing the weight. He was just like, I'm scared my wife is going to leave me. And I'm just like, but you're willing to possibly die?
Mm-hmm.
If you keep this weight on, he's got every medical issue known to man, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of this stuff. And I'm like, sometimes you just gotta put your 2 feet down. You may have to walk that walk alone. Luckily for me, I didn't have to do that. And I can understand how it must be hard for some people to do that, but you gotta, whether it may not be your spouse, maybe your kids or your mother, somebody, you need that support on your side, somebody that's going to motivate you and know that you're doing this for the greater good.
I think for couples that are doing it, I think it's important to also try to get involved in what they like to do. I'm not a weightlifter. I'm not a strength trainer. But I do it because I have to with endurance sports, but I also do it because he likes to do it. And so I want to do stuff that he does. I also want to watch him in the gym and make sure he ain't doing too much, with his heart condition. But I do like it. And I have seen changes in my body that are great. So I do that with him because that's what he likes. He's not a cardio person. I like to run, swim, bike. He doesn't really like that stuff, but he'll videotape, he'll record for me. He'll do what I need him to do when I'm doing the sports that I like. So we get to spend time together in that way. I think that it's important to, try not to go too off into your own lanes, because then, just do something to bring yourselves back together. But like he said, it's very important that you have that support system, someone that's going to be there for you and listen to what's going on with you while you're going through the journey.
I got you. That is beautiful. Well, I appreciate your time, taking out your busy day and your busy workout schedule, your busy competitive workout schedule. You beating Michael in any workout challenge that there is. Let everybody know.
I've never beat her in anything. I'll just put that out there.
One day you will get that one victory. One day.
Yeah,
let everybody know where they can catch you at, listen to your podcast, website, everything. Go ahead.
So it's Something in Common. It's SOMETHIN_N_common. You can find us there. We also have a YouTube page under Something in Common as well. Facebook page is something. Everything is Something in Common _N_common. Where else are we?
We're on Instagram. We do a lot on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're iHeartRadio. Is that what it is?
Yeah. The podcast is on iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Spotify. You can find the YouTube there. The podcast there. We're actually in the process of kind of rerouting the podcast, making it more about health and fitness. So we're actually working on that aspect of it now. But like I said, we used to do more like current events and just stuff we would pillow talk about, but we really want to make the focus more about health and fitness. So we're actually transitioning that podcast into that as well. Some good interviews up. We got one up on our YouTube channel that we did with CT Fletcher, which is a really good one. If everybody, the workout we talked about, it's on CT Fletcher's page. If they want to go there and check out the gauntlet that he ran us through, see how he almost killed us, you can check that out on his YouTube page as well. But yeah, that's everywhere we are. And
we're also doing Something in Common, the Body Project. So just watching his journey in weightlifting and how he's changing his body, but also my road to Ironman. Ironman 70.3 in Sandusky, Ohio, July 24th. So I'm chronicling that journey on my Instagram page, Kim, KYM_Nicole, NICHOLE. So folks can check out that journey there. I'm doing a bunch of races before then. I actually have a trail run tomorrow, a 10K. And then I'm also doing Escape the Cape. So I'm going to be jumping off a boat in New Jersey. a triathlon. So we start at the swim. So I'm actually jumping off the boat for the swim part and then bike and run. So it'll be an interesting race season. Race season kicks off tomorrow. So you can find it there and on Something in Common.
And that is beautiful. Once again, thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this. Yeah. I see. You know what? Hey, now your access has expanded to do more now since the weight loss. So yeah, I appreciate it. You know, I got some inspiration from your story. Michael, yours just touched me personally because it's, you know, we went through something similar with the high blood pressure thing, and you know, working out as a couple and losing weight as far as for couples, that's a beautiful thing because the support system is needed, especially, you know, dealing with that mental aspect, and you know, each one teach one. Again, I can't thank you all enough. May you all be blessed and have a much prosperous 2022. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.